Hello, who are you?
Hi, Kathrin. Who I am? I am a human being, first of all, and a concert pianist, a very passionate concert pianist.
And you have a wonderful first name that I can pronounce, Marianna. And maybe you pronounce your whole name for us again before I do wrong.
Marianna Prjevalskaya.
Marianna Prjevalskaya. Okay.
Yes, wonderful.
We met a couple of years ago in the internet, and I've noticed you as a fabulous pianist. And I thought it would be wonderful to, to introduce you here to the public in Germany and show who you are. So, yes, who are you? You are a pianist. What kind of pianist are you?
Thank you very much for inviting me to have this interview with you. What kind of pianist I am? I am a classically trained pianist. If you want, I can share a little bit about myself, my background, where I come from.
Yes, please.
I was born in what was used to be Soviet Union, and to a music family. My parents are musicians, both of them. My mother is a pianist who taught me since I was 6 years old. My father is a violinist, and in 1992, my father got a job at the Galician Symphony Orchestra in Spain, in the northwest corner of Spain, and we moved. 7 years later, I went to study to London with Professor Irina Zaritsskaya for 2 years. Then she unexpectedly, unfortunately, died of a heart attack. And I continued my studies with American pianist Kevin Kenner. And then after London, I went to United States and I studied with Alexander Toradze in Indiana. And then I studied with Professor Boris Berman in Yale University. Then I had a few years off wandering around, means playing lots of competitions. And then something told me that I want to get my doctorate. Like I felt something was not finished yet. And that's how I moved to Baltimore to do my Doctor of Musical Arts degree at Peabody Institute of Music with Professor Boris Slutsky. And I already earned that. So my education is, I would say, kind of complete, but definitely the journey was very, very international.
So I would have to call you Dr. Prjevalskaya. Is that correct? Well, this is so difficult. You don't need to pronounce my name. I think it was not much easier for you, but it's anyway. Okay, so you are a doctor, but if you are a doctor, what is the topic of your thesis? What did you sort of focus on during your thesis?
During my thesis, I focused on the composer Domenico Scarlatti. And actually, his time in Portugal and Spain and how he influenced composers in Spain, and even how some of his resonances were felt in Galicia. That's the region where my parents live. And I was researching whether his music was known in that area in the 17th and 18th century. Not 17th, pardon, in the 18th century, beginning of the 19th century. In Galicia or not. That was my research topic. I played some of the works. I offered a recital in a conference in south of Spain, in Mojácar, not too far from Almeria, with a repertoire just based on composers from the 18th century. That included 30 minutes of Scarlatti sonatas, plus Carlos Seixas, who was active in Portugal, Antonio Soler, who was active in Madrid and possibly studied with Scarlatti, José de Nebra, who was also very active in Madrid and the Royal Chapel at the time when Scarlatti worked for the Spanish court of Maria Barbara, and a few others, as Gaspar Smith, who was actually in Galicia. So it was a very interesting program, and I still hope to play some of it.
That's one of my favorites. There's one lady who is also a doctor, by the way, Dr. Ida Günther. She's also part of the Weltklassik team, and she ran a couple of interviews more on the expert level because she studied these theoretical parts. I'm just an economist, so I know nothing about music. But she did a wonderful interview with one of our pianists on Scarlatti. Maybe you would like to look it up. It's Dr. Ida Günther and Artem Jasinski. They talk about Scarlatti. It's a difficult technological program with the German internet. We are not sort of technically up to date in this country, but it's from as far as the content is concerned, it's really very interesting as far as I understand it. Okay, so you are a very beautiful person. You have beautiful pictures from your concerts, and you also do other photos with beautiful pictures. When I see you on these photos from your concerts, I always think this is a very special lady. What makes you special? What do you think? What makes you special as a pianist?
Well, it's on one hand, it's hard to talk about oneself, I guess. Probably the audience should tell me what makes me special. Mm-hmm. But since you ask this question, I would say, music plays an extremely important part of my life, a very important role in my life. I'm actually very grateful to my parents, because when I was 6, I didn't know whether I would be a pianist or not, but they insisted. And even though as a child, I went through some difficult periods when I felt like, well, I'm not sure if I want to do this, but I'm talking very, very early age. Yeah. They insisted, and then there was a moment when I realized that, oh my God, this is actually something I would not be able to live without. Mm-hmm. If everything fails, and if life is completely miserable, this is where I will survive. Just making music, playing the piano, learning new repertoire, and just get absorbed in it. And I will not feel lonely or as bad as I could feel if music wasn't there. So, in other words, what's special about me is that I feel music very deeply. Mm-hmm. I feel it in a very intense way. The emotional side of music is very, very important for me. And that happens not only when I perform, but also when I practice. Mm-hmm. I love practicing. And that's the reason why I love it, because I have this special bond and connection with music. And I just enjoy doing it, enjoy listening to the sound I produce, enjoy all these harmonic progressions, So when I perform, obviously this gets probably even into a more intensified level on stage. And I think that I've seen reactions from the people that hear me, so I believe that I'm able to share what I feel so intensely about music with the listeners. Mm-hmm. So I believe this would be what makes me special if I try to put it into words.
Yes, I mean, this is a great gift in the sense of, not in the sense of talent, in the sense of present. It's a big present to work in an area where you are so much, can I say indulged? You're so, you like what you're doing, you love what you're doing, and you not only like to present the result, but also to prepare for presenting the result, so that you must be a very, very happy person then, a very lucky person.
In that respect, yes, absolutely. I think that there is nothing better I could do in this life. I felt that I was born for this. Mm-hmm. So I'm very lucky in that respect, yes, because I think there are so many people in this world that have to do things they don't like.
Yeah.
And I always think about it, that I'm very lucky because I do what I always loved.
Yeah. So I don't know, will you tell us? Because when you say I'm a lucky person in this respect, are there other areas where you say I'm not a lucky person?
Well, I shouldn't complain, I guess.
Okay.
Because, honestly speaking, sometimes you mentioned photography, right? So I love photography, and I'm an amateur. I'm not a professional, but I'm trying to be a little bit close to professional. So sometimes I just look through albums, that pictures I took of different places where I visited, and especially even on Facebook, you post things, and then years later you look and think, oh my God, I have an incredible life, actually. I've traveled so much. I've seen so many people, so many wonderful places. I studied in all these different countries. I was able to see how different cultures coexist in different places. And I was always surrounded by art, and I love art and I love nature. So I guess, I should say that I am lucky. Okay. I was just referring mainly to the music career and what it means, because, in our daily lives, I think everybody goes through difficulties and difficult times. Yeah. And obviously this year proved how difficult it can be for everybody at the same time.
You are in Baltimore now, you are in the US. How did you cope with the difficulties, and do you see light at the end of the tunnel?
When all this started, honestly, I could not believe it would get this serious, because it's affecting so much everybody, not only in terms of health, because unfortunately lots of people react very badly to this, and it's impossible to even save their lives. But I'm right now talking about how concert halls are suffering, how businesses are suffering. So I don't know, I hope there will be a light in the tunnel, but probably I don't see it coming very soon, which concerns me, because I wish we could still go on with concerts, and probably there are ways of doing it if we really wanted. For example, concerts outside could work. Unless, of course, if the rain comes and if you want to have a pianist perform and you have to move out the piano outside. Yeah. And that's
it's easier to organize vocal concerts. Yeah, it's easier to organize other things than piano concerts outside. The idea is, everybody says, why don't you do this outside? Like I said, okay, you carry the piano and you carry the umbrellas. It's not easy. It's not obvious, and it might be limited to some summer season. So what do we do then? Yes. Yeah. Yes, but if you're rich, like big companies, then at least they can do something,
But on the other hand, some concert presenters manage to open the doors, like in Europe, with limited amount of people entering, of course, the concert hall, and sitting maybe 2 or 3 seats apart. Yep. But I think this is still possible. Yep. Why not doing something like that? And why airplanes are flying full of people, but there are no concerts?
Yeah, well, here it's the law, so it's not, we can't do something like, the planes do it, let's do it that way. So we are limited to reducing our number of guests by 30%. If you have 1.5 meters as in diameter around you, where you up to the next person, then it means roughly 30% of the people. So now 30%, it's not minus 30%, it's reducing to 30%. That's quite a problem. So we had a phase here where we didn't have concerts for 5 months at all. All. So that was sort of a concert lockdown. But now it starts again, and we're doing a little bistro type of concerts, and the guests are so happy that we're back. That is really a good reason to do the effort. We have to double our effort. It's not a saying, it's really double our effort. Also the pianists, they play twice, they play 2 concerts, so they can do at least something. So we are all hungry, but as you said, we are more hungry to the music, to the beauty. We missed the music, we missed the guests, and the pianist missed the audiences. That's the most important part of it. Yeah. So we're back. That's the good news. Yeah, but I'd like to come back to you as a person. I have in mind not only your beautiful photos of nature, not only your beautiful photos of concerts, but you in a red dress on the floor. Do you remember that? That's a wonderful photo. Yeah, do you remember that? Okay, it's really a wonderful artistic concert photo. And I would like to ask you a provocative question. Are you a star, Marianna? Do you think you are a star? What do you think? Yeah, I know. Bad question,
honestly, huh? I don't even like the word star.
Okay. Yes.
Maybe some people love it, but I guess I don't like this word because I immediately make associations of some superficial kind of artist that just wants to show off.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know why I have this connection, this image.
Yes.
For me,
yes.
Music, classical music, goes much deeper than that. Mm-hmm. So there is no reason for me to feel a star or think that I'm a star. Even though I must say, if you want to, for example, as an advice to pianists who are doing competitions. I've done a lot and now I can no longer do that. I'm too old. But I can give advices in that respect. Obviously, the jury is looking for someone who presents incredible stage confidence. Mm-hmm. And that comes from the mentality of, I'm a star. Mm-hmm. Could be. Yeah, I'm not saying 100% that it comes from there, but it could be. Like we have to feel very self-confident and present ourselves. Yeah. On the other hand, we can also say that being a star or being self-confident doesn't have to merge. But coming back to your question, of course, I love to be on stage. I love to feel that maybe. If it's a large stage, the 2,000 people are looking at me. Who doesn't like that? And I love the bright light that we have on stage. I love the sound of the instrument that resonates through this space. It's fantastic, but it's just a moment. Because then, what happens then when you start playing? When I start playing, at least. I get like into some kind of bubble. This bubble is this emotional world that I have, this space where I feel very connected to music. And then it's more of a meditation for me. Like when I play, when I'm deeply in performance, in just feeling and going with the flow, for me it's more like a meditation. And then music starts guiding me. Like I have my ideas, I have my interpretation, but at the same time things start happening on their own. And I think it's the power of music that absorbs you and leads you. And then at that moment you don't think about whether you're a star or not, whether you are on a big stage, if you have a lot of light or how many people are watching you. Forget about these things. So for me this is exactly what matters most than just aiming for being a star or not.
Well, actually, I think, this is probably the right attitude to, if there is the right attitude to become a star, then it's probably that. As opposed to, I want to be a star and this is what I do, is more, I do this and, a lot of people coming to my place, so now I am a star. So I think being a star is probably more a result than an objective. But anyway, you were talking about a bubble. This sounds like, once you start playing, are you alone with your piano, with your music, with your meditation, with your thoughts, your feelings, or do you interact with the audience? Do you have a feeling that you interact with the audience?
To be honest, it can change. I remember sometimes when I was so absorbed in the music, and of course the music, let's say, for example, it's so dark and very deep. Yeah, not something that is brilliant, and then you hear the audience just clapping insanely fast and loud and being so enthusiastic. But let's say you're playing something that is very, very dark and deep. And then you hear them and you sort of see them, but you're still there. You're still in that that space, and sometimes it takes time to get out of that space. Sometimes these experiences on stage, I feel, can be so profound and so deep that even 1 hour after, your friends still need to shake you. Hey, wake up!
They left.
My mind is still there.
Everybody is gone.
Stay.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's very interesting, because one of the pianists said, well, when I asked, what do you miss in this, and she said, I miss the audience. I said, what do you miss the audience? She said, this is the dialogue. This was for me a new thought that she said this concert is made by the audience, and that was going very far on an axe, which you were with this bubble, you were on the other side of this axis. So this is why I thought this was interesting to find out about you. Yeah.
I think that people, for everybody is different. For example, let me bring an example. Of course, I cannot speak from him, Grigory Sokolov, but I have a feeling that he is the bubble person. That he looks as if the audience wasn't even there. He comes out in his world, his transcendental work. He creates. He gives us a chance to join.
Okay. Who's the other side? Who's on the other side? Who's the if you have the bubble person? Who's the other? The interaction person, the publican person, the what would you call it? And who is your example? Asking things.
Well, it's hard to say right away. In general, I think that I still feel. I was just thinking about Marianna Prjevalskaya or Evgeny Kissin. Or Andras Schiff. I think they probably are also in kind of the bubble, but they communicate more with the audience.
What about Lang Lang?
But he's the star.
I'm sorry? Excuse me?
He's the star.
Yeah, he is the star, right? Exactly. And he's the audience interaction mostly. So he would be, for me, he would be the other extreme. If you say Sokolov is the bubble person, then I put Lang Lang on the other extreme.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, interesting. But he's the star. Well, for me, the word star, I meant not qualifying. I just meant it quantifying. A star is maybe someone who gets the biggest concert and the biggest money. But
it can be different. It can be also an amazing artist who achieved a lot of things. Who has great education, has great ideas, knows how to communicate with people, and people love this person. So it's all very relative. I'm just,
I think so. That's exactly what I think. It's actually a triangle, and it has to do with, for me, the word star. If we do take it, I know why you dislike it. I dislike it in the same way. But if we take it as a word, for me, a star is someone who reaches one person in the audience. And it is nothing to do with numbers. If it's a person who reaches more than one person in the audience, that's fine. But it's this, for me, this is, people, when I say goodbye to the people visiting our concerts, I shake hands. I mean, in former times, we shook hands. And, sometimes you see a little tear, or you see something like, oh, this was so wonderful. Oh, thank you so much. I said, I didn't do it. People are so moved. And they're so, how would you say proper English? Taken, shaken, moved. Touched. Yeah. Exactly. And they're touched exactly. It goes directly to their heart, and they show it. And they show it afterwards. They don't show it in the concert. I think one of the most intimate things on this planet is piano concerts, classical piano concerts, because everybody seems to be in their bubble.
Yes. Yeah. Also, I must say that, of course, this smaller setting, smaller space, I think, creates this very intimate atmosphere.
Yes, that's true. But I think there's more to it. I think this is, if you compare this to, if you have a 5,000 people concert, it's still a classical concert. It's still different from a jazz concert, for instance, because at a jazz concert, people would go outgoing, yeah.
Yeah.
And with a classical concert, they would still sit there and close their eyes and smile, look a little stupid, and I really like that. So
I think that on a big stage, we are still capable. If you are a great artist, you are capable to create this intimate setting, even if you have 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Of course, the space doesn't help because it's very big, but if you know how to play in such venues and you are capable of creating such atmosphere, then you just let these 5,000 people enjoy it. Yeah. But still, of course, it's still different. And for the performer and for the audience, when you physically are sitting so far apart.
Yeah. But, you know, I think this is something about a star in this positive sense, you know, whether you are able to make this an intimate setting. It has something to do with, you know, how you walk on stage, on how you bow, how long you wait until you start playing. And it has something to do how the light is. I mean, I don't think it needs to be blue flashlight. Yeah.
Of course not.
But these old pictures, we all know these old pictures from Horowitz, where he just has these, how do you call this? We call this Kegel, Lichtkegel. Where you just
I was just going to say that some performers like just light on them on the piano, and then the rest is just dark.
Yeah, and that helps. And that helps too. So there's a couple of well, anyway, good. That's very interesting, Marianna. This has been really fun talking to you. We discussed something so I could enlarge my views. And I hope we will be seeing you next or the year after in hopefully a better world than it is just now.
Yes. Hopefully, yes, I would love to, definitely.
I would love to too. If you had a wish ring and you could sort of, you know, turn it around, is there one thing you would wish now at this point in time? Your biggest wish?
Well, my biggest wish would be that the humanity finds harmony.
Yeah. Like
that's my biggest wish for everybody.
Okay, that's like you always find it in your piano playing. Thank you very much, Marianna Prjevalskaya. And
thank you so much.
Thank you, and I hope to see you soon. I'll just add a little German note for the people who are watching this. So thank you very much. Ja, hallo liebe Gäste. Ich hoffe, Sie konnten alles gut verstehen. Das war Marianna Prjevalskaya. Ich habe es versucht. Ich übe noch weiter. Mein Name ist Kathrin Haarstick und Weltklassik am Klavier kennen Sie ja nun schon. Sie sind die Produzenten dieses Videos on YouTube und für Ihre Unterstützung erscheinen Sie dann hinterher auf dem Abspann. Vielleicht bleiben Sie noch einen kleinen Moment dran und gucken sich an, wie das geht. Ich bedanke mich bei Ihnen. Bleiben Sie gesund und bis bald. Tschüss. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.